announcement on this lesson here called record collection here on freecodecamp.com under JavaScript. I was able to figure this out, and I'm going to run us through this here, show you guys how to do it too, because this is actually a great lesson here because you're using function with multiple arguments and you're using if-then statements to try and get separations from different types of inputs. So when we read from over here, what we need to do is if value is an empty string, delete the given prop. It says if the value is an empty string. So if value, and it's referring to this value right here. So if value is an empty string, meaning like this, okay, if value is an empty string, delete the given property from the album. From the album, we're going to take our records at the correct ID, and then we're going to do the correct property. Now this is where I was getting a little mixed up because I was accidentally typing prop like this, and I learned when I did that, this is not a correct call. This is actually referring to the exact call. This is a value name here, but this is not the same as this. So I learned that was one of my mistakes. Next, we have, what we're going to do is else if, and then we're going to have another statement here, which is referring to if the property isn't tracks and value isn't an empty string, assign the value to that album's prop. So essentially, that's what we got going on right down here. It's saying that if the property, which the property is the third argument here, so our third argument is artist, and it's saying if the third property is not tracks, which it's not, then the value, and checking if the value is not an empty string. So let's just write this in here. If prop is not equal to tracks, like that, and then we're also going to have another conditional statement where we're going to say if value, don't say if, is not empty, like that. So now we're going to do the next part. It says assign the value to that album's property. How do we assign it to the property? Well, we're going to do records ID again. Now we're going to do property like this, assign it to the value, which is right here. Blink, blink. Next, in our last conditional statement. Well, actually, it's technically not the last one because this last one has a conditional statement within the conditional statement, but I'm just going to copy and paste it over here on the right side so that we can read off of this. So it starts out if property is tracks, if it is tracks, and the value isn't an empty string, you need to update the album's tracks and then say first, the album does not have the tracks property, then assign it to an empty array, and then finally add the value as the last item in the album's track array, which this is going to be using the push command. We're going to say if property is equal to tracks and, oh, whoops, I'm writing this wrong. This goes up here. If property is equal to tracks and value is not empty. Okay. Now it says you need to update the album's track array. If the album does not have a track property, so we do if, we go records at ID, and if it does not have a tracks property, so then I think you're going to do something like this, or, oh no, actually properties already means tracks, so we're just going to use prop again. So if this doesn't exist like that, that's what that's saying. If album does not have a tracks property. So if the record at the album of the property, which property, if it's going through here, is going to say tracks. All right, so if it doesn't have a tracks, assign it to an empty array. So all we're going to do here is do records ID and then prop to equal an empty array like that. Boom. And now finally, it says add the value of the last item and push it. So to add it to the end, we just go like this, records ID prop dot push, and now we're going to push value just like that. So let's test that. Oh, I think there's one more thing we need here. Oh. Alright, so I missed a little piece here, and if value is equal to blank and property is not blank. All right, I was looking through the code and I realized if we take a look here, we got tracks, and right here for some reason I was missing it. I'm pretty sure. Oh, I put these here because I was looking at the other code I wrote. I was like, what? I think I messed up, but it still works. Let's try it. There we go. It worked.